I think relevancy is probably one of the most um, difficult things that the church struggles with these days. Whether it's a church that is stuck in its tradition and, I don't know, maybe scared of the new, scared of being relevant, um, or whether it's a contemporary church um, that is so wrapped up on being relevant that they forget how relevant God's word is, and therefore they forget to preach God's word. So many times we tether the word relevant with the word popular, and that's just not what being relevant truly is. Well, why don't we take a look at what God deems to be relevant? If you look into the ministry of Paul, there's three people that stand out. There's Lydia, who was a prominent, intellectual, wealthy woman. There was a slave girl who was demon possessed and flat out of her mind. And then you had a very military minded, structured minded prison guard. And in each of these situations, God approaches them in different ways, and yet gets the same result. With Lydia, he used Paul to really trigger her intellect. Paul sat down and had numerous intellectual conversations with her, which about Christ, which ultimately led her to her conversion. And then there was the slave girl. Well, we know that there's no sitting down and reasoning with a demon-possessed person. So God met her, reached out for her heart, went directly for her soul. And then you have a structure-minded, military-minded prison guard. And we all know the story. We all know the story of Paul and Silas being shackled and put into prison and literally shaking the earth with their worship. You see, Paul and Silas was an example of what a Christian, a true follower of Christ, really is, by worshiping in the middle of pain and suffering, praising God when literally everything was falling apart all around them. They were an example to this prison guard of what a follower of Christ is. So God used the intellect, God used love, God used Paul and Silas being an example. 3 different avenues for 3 different people. Now I don't know what a better definition of being relevant is. So as we go throughout our ministry, as a team, a music team, a worship team, as a church, and let's try to remember that being relevant is not singing the newest songs, having the greatest light show, or being able to preach with the most fluent, smooth, ear-catching methods. Being relevant is being able to make an impact in the lives of people where they are. So church, let's love people right where they are, and let's love them to Christ.